This is Scott the Fix-It Guy. Today we have a Miele dishwasher that is filling with water even though it's not on. So during the night more and more water fills in. It's got a fill valve that's not closing all the way. This is where the water kind of dribbles in during the night. It's very slow, but the next day you have a dishwasher full of water. And it's due to this thing over here underneath the sink called the fill valve. And this is what a new fill valve assembly would cost if you got it over in Europe. Comes out to be about $220 US. You can also buy one of these cheaper ones through Amazon. These are just kind of generic fill valves that come with a little brass elbow, and you can get these for under 20 bucks. So this is the one we're going to put in. Here's a little part number too, so you can order it. So you need this thing with the little brass elbow, and you need a couple of these little spade connectors. And this is a 200 pack for $8, but you might have some in your garage. And we need the female side of the spade connector. Need two of those. And this is what the fill valve looks like, the existing one. And you want to turn off the water. Use a standard head screwdriver to pry this case apart. And then when the case is apart, you can pull back on the white plastic tube, and it will expose a rubber tube. And then you want to make sure, again, the water's turned off. You want to cut the rubber tube about 4 inches back away from the fill valve. There's also going to be a black wire, and you want to cut that close to the fill valve. Here's the two wires now that have been cut. I've separated them so I have two bring power to the new fill valve. And I'm going to now use this crimping tool to add the spade connectors, the female spade connectors, to these wires, one to each wire. So I'm going to put the spade connector inside of the crimping tool. I'm going to put the exposed wire into the spade connector, and then I'll squeeze it tight to crimp the spade connector onto the wire. I'm going to twist the wire a little bit so that it'll fit right into the bottom of the spade connector. It's pretty easy to do. If you don't have a crimping tool, you could use even a pair of vice grips or anything that'll really squeeze tight so it'll squish the metal of the spade connector onto the wire, giving it a nice tight connection. And I'll do the other wire too. After that, it would be good to wrap these metal spade connectors or any exposed metal that you see with electrical tape. If you have these plastic spade connectors, they come with a cover already, so you don't really have to wrap them. These were just kind of exposed metal ones, so I did wrap them because I don't want them to make contact with anything metal underneath the sink. So here is now my new fill valve, and I'm just pushing it in on the rubber water tube until I get a really tight connection. And then I'm going to use my pliers to squeeze in on the spring clamp. This is the one that was originally on the old fill valve. I'm reusing it. I'm going to squeeze in on it, and I'm going to push it up real close to the fill valve so that it's crimping down that hose tightly onto the fill valve, so I have a nice watertight connection. I've already put the brass elbow, I threaded it into the new fill valve, and I used a little Teflon thread tape on the threads of that brass elbow, and then I threaded it in nice and tight, and that's where I connected my hose to that goes between the fill valve and the incoming water supply from the house. So I'm getting all my connections tight. I'm putting the new power connectors onto the new fill valve, and now I'm going to put the assembly into position, and I'm going to tighten up this hose. It has a compression fitting, so I'm just going to tighten it up by finger and then use my pliers to get it tighter. This is bringing water to the new fill valve. And I also have the power connectors, the spade connectors already hooked up to the fill valve, bringing power from the dishwasher. I get this on nice and tight. I'm also going to install this fill valve up against the back wall, against the wood, with a wood screw so that it's in there nice and secure, because I don't want it to float around at the bottom of the dishwasher. I mean at the bottom of the sink area. So I'm going to put a little screw in there, get it in tight. And right now I'm putting some electrical tape over the metal spade connectors. Again, if you use a plastic spade connectors, you don't have to do this step. But this is just so that there's no metal underneath the sink that will touch these power connectors, or that would cause a short circuit. So now I'm going to tighten up the screw. I'm going to put it into the plywood here underneath the sink to hold the fill valve out of the way of things underneath the sink. And this fill valve actually does a better job than the $220 brand new one from Miele. We've tested these out over the last 10 years, and these things do a really good job, and they're way cheaper. So we started it up, we have nice water coming in, and this solved the problem. Hope this helps you. Thanks so much for watching, and please subscribe.